Welcome into this week's edition of the Chanticleer Football Update alongside the interim head coach, Jamie Chadwell. My name is Joe Cash, and we welcome you in to talk about last week's game against Texas State and then preview Saturday's big matchup against Power 5 Arkansas. And Jamie, a tough one on Saturday night here on homecoming for the Chanticleers, 27-7. The Texas State Bobcats came in, and boy, it really looked like right from the get-go. They had the energy. They came out with a hurry-up offense, and they just took it to us.
They did. That was, I think, the most disappointing thing of it is that they just looked like they wanted to play harder than us and compete more, and we looked like we didn't want to be out there half the time. And that's something that I was worried about, because you come off a good showing. We played relatively well the week before, and you're hoping we can continue to build off that, and just weren't able to do it in any area. And they took it to us, and those are things that we can control, and that's what I was disappointed at.
They came out in a hurry-up offense. They really wanted to run a lot of snaps right from the get-go. Was that something that you guys had seen on film and had been ready for it?
Well, that's part of what they're doing offensively, and so I thought we were relatively prepared for it. We've got to do a good job on the other side of the ball. We had chances to keep it, and we didn't do it either. And so, but they did. They ran quite a few plays, and we didn't run hardly any. If you look at it, and I think that's the difference in the game.
They came out right away too and ran some chicanery right from the get-go. Their first possession, they ran that little reverse and then flea flicker, and they hit us with a 54-yard touchdown pass.
They did. That was a nice execution by them. We lost, I think it was their tight end.
Yeah.
We lost their tight end and didn't cover him, and they were able to go up 7-0 there. And I think after also we stopped them as a third down, and I think we got a penalty to give them a first down, and I think it was the play after that. So one of those things to get behind, and you hope that you practice some of those things, but you can't practice them all, and they got us on that one.
And then finally we get a break. We get a turnover. They're down, looking like they're about to kick a 44-yard field goal. Bad snap, goes through the holder's hands, and there's Tony Chesley there at midfield. He scoops it up and goes to score. Finally a break for the Chanticleers, and I thought that might light a spark under this team.
Well, that's what I thought, too. It looked like it. I mean, it was a huge play. The guys were excited. He tied up at 7. As bad as the game started, you're down 7-0. They make a play like that, make it 7-7. And that was in your mind, you're like, hey, that's what we needed. That's a kick start we need. Sometimes that battery takes a little while to start, and we thought that, hey, that's what we needed to ignite it. And unfortunately, that was about the highlight, the rest of the highlights for the rest of the game.
At halftime, it was only 17-7, so the Chanticleers were still very much in the ball game, down by only 10 points. What did you say to the team at halftime?
Well, it's more so just, hey, we didn't play very well. And, we had a lot of penalties, we had a lot of different things we weren't executing, and you're down 10.
Yeah.
I said, normally you play something that way, something that bad, you might be blown out. We're right there and you get a good drive, you get a stop, you're right back in the football game. So tried to be encouraged, positive, hey, let's just play the way we're capable of and come back and win this football game. And that was the plan. Obviously didn't execute when we went out.
I was going to say second half, not really a lot to talk about there. They scored another 10 points. They went on to win 27-7. And again, Coach, something we've talked about a lot, either here on the update or on the radio in our pregame discussions, third down conversions, a bugaboo for us, and then being able to get people off the field on third down.
Yeah, that's all year long. That's been the Achilles heel, and what was. I think they had 9 third down conversions. They were 9 of 15 or something like that, or maybe even more than that. And so when we had chances to get them off, there was a penalty or something. And so that allowed them to continue to sustain drives. And then offensively in the first half, and when you have a chance to maybe take the lead, when you have a chance to stay in the ballgame or something positive happen, we had 3 plays or 3 opportunities where there was 1 yard or less to get. That means you're doing pretty well on first and second down, and we couldn't get it. And so that's just disheartening. And when you can't get 1 yard, you have a lot bigger issues than just your third down. And that's what was frustrating about that, because you get those, maybe you don't score on them, but you keep the ball away from them.
Right.
And you never know what happens. And that was I think the really disheartening thing in the first half, and then the second half it was more the same.
And then field position is just something that Coastal has we've been behind the 8 ball all year long on starting field position. It seems like the other night, average starting field position, the 16-yard line. In the second half, only 1 drive started outside the 20. It's hard to go the field time after time.
It is tough. That's. That has been all year long. It seems like we've not had a good start field position. I couldn't tell you the last time we've had the ball maybe at the 30-yard line and have a chance to start. But you still got to find ways to move the ball, regardless of where you're getting it. You got to find a way to move it. last week we got the ball, I think, at the 4-yard line. We get out to the 30 or 40-yard line on a couple plays. You're making good progress, and then we have a delay game on a 1st and 10.
Yeah.
Just things of that nature with the senior quarterbacks have been playing should never happen. And it's just you take a step forward and there's 2 back, and that's been sort of the what's been with this season, and it's been a frustrating thing. But regardless, we tell our team all the time, no matter the situation, you got to find a way. So if we have to go 98, we got to find a way to go 98. That's just the way it is. And if they've got the ball, we got to figure a way to get them off the field. And until we do that, we're still going to have these conversations every Saturday.
So it all added up to a 27-7 Texas State win over Coastal. When we come back, we'll talk about the players of the game from Saturday night. We'll do it after this on the Chanticleer Football Update. Back here on the Chanticleer Football Update as Coastal falls to 1-7 and 0-5 in Sunbelt Conference play. 27-7 loss on Saturday to Texas State. But, Coach, some bright spots in the game, some players of the game. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about the offensive player of the game. Kind of an interesting choice here. We mentioned him in the first segment, Anthony Chesley, the 50-yard fumble return off the bad snap for the touchdown. He also had a career-high 13 tackles on defense. He was the offensive player of the game.
Yeah, there were some guys on offense that did a solid job, but when you execute as bad as we did, I don't know if anybody played well enough for you to deserve anything. Tony obviously had a big play in there to give us some momentum to score some points, and we felt like he was the best player on offense all night long.
Shane Johnson on defense has really been battling a high ankle sprain since very early in the season, but 19 tackles the other night. That's the second most individually in school history. Just a terrific game by Shane.
He did. He played well. Obviously, when you have that many tackles, that means you're on the field quite a bit. So when you have the highest tackles in the history of the program, that's a lot of good, but it also means you're probably playing a lot of defense. And so, but he has been fighting through that, and I thought he played really well, and and is continuing to be a good player for us there in the middle.
And then special teams-wise, a guy that we really talked about all season, Evan Rabin, the junior from Florence, had a terrific night punting the football. You don't want to have 9 punts in a game, but when you do, he averaged 45 per.
Yeah, he punted really well, and but you don't want to punt 9 times. Obviously, I think we hadn't punted that many in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He'd been averaging 2 or 3 punts a week, and then you go out for 9 times. So, but he, when he's consistent, he's a great weapon for us. And the last couple of weeks he's played really well.
A couple of other bright spots, too. I thought Fitz Watley continued his season-long good play, 10 tackles in the game on defense.
Yeah, Fitz is making some nice plays. I think he also had an interception for us there.
Sure did.
On a 3rd down, so we were able to get a couple turnovers finally. And he's continuing. If he'll continue to mature and do the things that he needs to do, we think he can continue to be a solid player.
And then Chris Jones, offensively, wide receiver. He's also been battling some injuries, and he had 5 catches, 65 yards. Even the defenses are kind of, keying on him a little bit, trying to take him out of the game.
They are. We're getting a lot of double coverage to him, people rolling coverages to him and trying to take him out of the football game. He's made some nice plays the last couple of weeks, and we got to continue to find ways to get him the football.
Okay, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll preview the game on Saturday at Arkansas. We'll do it after this. Back here on the Chanticleer Football Update, time now to go to the Ask the Coach at coastal.edu line. And, Coach, the question comes in this week, the challenge of trying to get players motivated to play. You mentioned this in the opening. I was just, the other night, Texas State really came out with much more energy, looked like they had much more want to. How do you as a coach, and then how does the staff try to go about getting the guys motivated to go out and play?
Well, that's the big challenge, obviously. You hope you have people on your team that are motivated to play. First and foremost, Lou Holtz made a great quote. He goes, how do you get motivated people to play? You get motivated people, you find motivated people, first and foremost. But 2, I think what our team has to realize is our staff. What are we trying to play for? And it's not about winning the game. It's about how you're building something. You're trying to build a foundation, and part of that foundation you want to be is every time, no matter who you're playing, no matter your situation, you're giving everything you can. And we need young people, and we need our kids to believe in and buy into that. It's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be, we're just going to show up and roll the ball and win football games. And you have to understand that there's a process you have to go through to build something. And part of that is being able to give your best even when your best is not good enough. And we've got to learn that. We're continuing to learn that. And so you hope through us as coaches and what we talk about daily and the character words, the things that we're trying to do, is they understand there's a bigger purpose than just what the scoreboard says and what's your why. And so you hope that they understand that. That's all the motivation they need, because they're playing for the people that come before them. They're playing for the people that are going to come after them, and they're playing for the people beside them. And if you're doing those things, and if you're selfless, you don't need a championship ring to play for. You don't need the adulation to play for. You're playing because you love the guy beside you, and that's enough. That's what we're trying to accomplish.
Injuries, let's talk about them. Oshabar Abercrombie went down the other day. I think that might have been the most notable that we had. How's his health, and what's the status of some other guys?
Yeah, he's banged up. He'll be questionable. I would not expect to see him this weekend. Marcus Atlow's still banged up. Would not expect to see him this weekend, so we're going to be very thin at running back. We should get Dwayne Price back from last week. He was in the concussion protocol, and he should be back. And I think you'll see Dalton Demos back. He's been in the concussion protocol. He should be back, and he'll be on the trip with us. So hopefully we can find an opportunity to get him in the game some a little bit as well. All
right, let's talk about the Arkansas Razorbacks. Power 5 team, Southeastern Conference. First one of these games that Coastal has played since the South Carolina game of 2013. What do you see from this team? What are our chances in this ball game?
Well, their record's not very good right now, but obviously they're playing a lot of good teams that they're playing. I think they've played 4 teams in the top 25, and a couple in the top 5. And so they're going to be a very big physical football team. When they run out of the tunnel, they've got some huge guys, and it's very noticeable on video.
Yeah.
And so and it's going to be 70 to 80,000 people singing Woo Pig Suey. So really good environment for our guys that nobody's ever been in. This will be the first time anybody on our team has been in that type of environment where there's a great crowd, an SEC type crowd, and a big time college football game. So there's a lot of learning, a lot of probably wide eyes that our guys will go through a little bit. But at the end of the day, they are a good football team. I think we can be a good football team if we'll do some things. There's things I think we can take advantage of if we're capable of doing those. They might overwhelm us. Who knows? They just might be so much more physical and more athletic that it'd be hard for us to hold up. But crazier things have happened, Joe. And if we can show some little resiliency and find a way, who knows?
Do the kids seem excited about going and playing in this environment?
I think so. None of them have ever played in that before, and I think to be on TV is, we're on ESPN3, but to be on SEC TV and play somebody that you seen, whether you see them on ESPN highlights or they're in a national football game of the week in the CBS SEC. People see them, and so to be able to experience that and say, hey, I'm playing in an opportunity that these people get to play in, you better be excited about that.
And you've coached in an environment like that a time or two. I think you were at Alabama once, where they're number 1 in the country.
Yeah, that didn't turn out too well either. I tell you what, it was great until kickoff. But it's a great experience for coaches. Because growing up, if you're a college football fan, especially in the Southeast, those SEC stadiums and those games, it's something that you love. And so to be able to experience that, all the great teams that came through Arkansas, the great players that they've had, there's a lot of great tradition. To be able to experience that, I think, is something that our team will be able to take with us, we can learn from, and ultimately, hopefully we can get to that point.
Coastal in Arkansas kicks off at 4 o'clock Eastern. The Chanticleer Sports Network will go on the air at 3 o'clock Eastern. Jamie, best of luck.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, for the interim head coach, Jamie Chadwell, I'm Joe Cashin. We'll see you right back here next time on the Chanticleer Football Update.